Casale Monferrato is a 16th century temple located in Vicolo Salmone Olper in the traditionally Jewish quarter of Casale Monferrato, province of Alessandria, region to Piedmont, Italy. The synagogue was built in 1595, is particularly known for its exquisite Baroque interior with walls and ceiling embellished with elaborate painting, carving and shelving. It is located in a narrow alleyway in the traditionally Jewish quarter of Casale Monferrato, which in the 18th century became the city's ghetto. The plain building houses a clandestine synagogue, giving no indication of its purpose as a Jewish house of worship. In early modern European synagogues, the synagogue was entered not directly from the street, but via courtyard, both for reasons of security and to comply with laws requiring that the sound of Jewish worship not be audible by Christians. Casale Monferrato is one of the few synagogues that survived in Piedmont, which once had many. Others in or close to Monferrato and the Langhe include the Biella Synagogue, the Vercelli Synagogue, and those of Fasti, Alessandria, Chieri, Carmagnola, Cherasco, Moncalvo, and Trino Vercellese. The synagogue is listed as a National Monument of Italy. The Jewish Art and History Museum, also known as the Museum of the Silvers, Museo degli Argenti, was designed by Giulio Bourbon and is located in part in the former Women's Gallery of the synagogue. On display are precious silver ceremonial objects and embroidered textiles, as well as artifacts related to Jewish festival and domestic life. Museum of Lights, Museo dei Lumi, occupies an underground room formerly used for baking matzot and houses a growing collection of menorahs created by contemporary Jewish and non-Jewish artists, including Elio Carmi, Emanuele Luzzati, Aldo Mondino, Marco Porta, Tobia Ravà, Antonio Recalcati, and David Gerstein. The archives include historical documents relating to the story of Jewish life in Casale and Monferrato, a collection of wedding contracts, ketubot, written on parchment and often richly decorated with drawings and symbols, the community registers, and a range of books printed between 16,100 and 19.
I'm Simone, and I'm here to talk about the history of the Cathedral of Casale Monferrato and to describe it to you. The Cathedral of Casale Monferrato, also known as Duomo, has gone through a lot of changes since its building. During the first half of the 8th century, the Longobards king Liutprando ordered the construction of a large basilica in honor of Saint Vasio on the site of the already existing Church of Saint Lorenzo. Then, under Pope Pasquale II, in 1107, it acquired a Romanesque style. The figure of the local saint, whose relics were already preserved at the time, who was a personality whose cult had been rooted in the tradition of the people of the region for centuries, made the church one of the most representative places in the region. The building, however, was damaged during the destruction of Casale in 1215. On this occasion, the relics of Saint Ivasio were stolen by the Alexandrians and were later recovered. The church was immediately rebuilt and its size was increased. In 1474, it was elevated to the rank of cathedral. At the beginning of the 18th century, the church underwent a modernization in Baroque style, which involved the coating of many parts in stucco and the plastering of almost the entire interior, except the narthex, or the atrium. Due to signs of collapse and cracks, however, it was redesigned by Benedetto Alfieri in 1764. The current structure of the building, however, is due to the restoration carried out between 1857 and 1861 by the architect Edoardo Arborio Mella. Finally, the recent restoration have brought to light the original structure of the Romanesque atrium. Duomo is a Lombard Romanic-style cathedral, characterized especially by its hut facade made in sandstone and bricks. It is decorated with double-arched and triple-arched windows, and it is also asymmetrical. The facade is framed by two campaniles on each side. On the sides of the main entrance, two columns are located, on top of which there are two statues of King Liutprando and Queen Teodolinda, respectively, as a sign of respect from the Catholic community to the founders of the church. On top of the middle door, there is a lunette, which shows Jesus sitting on a throne between Saint Evasio, who's offering him the mock-up of the cathedral, and Saint Lawrence with the grating. The two signs are the cathedral's patrons. The facade started to show signs of weakness after the beginning of the construction of the atrium, signs that caused the action of structures of support, such as the two canons' houses. On the sides of the atrium there are two galleries, which have shape of matroneums, to which one can get from the inside of the campaniles from spiraling staircases. The galleries are connected by a platform. They are closed by round arches and are enlightened by huge windows, and they gave the place a social role. In fact, in there were public meetings and conferences. 5 naves, vaulted by cross vaults. The floor is deeper than the narthex one, and it was rebuilt during 19th century restorations. Under modern decorations, it is possible to recognize typical Romanesque capitals at the top of the pillars. At the right, the most important things are, from the facade to the main altar, the chapel of Mary Magdalene and the sculpture of the saint made by Giovanni Battista Bernero in the 18th century. The column where Saint Evasio, the patron of the city, was killed during the 7th century. Legends say that if you put your ear next to it, you will be able to hear the blood of the martyr flowing. It is fixed on the wall near the chapel of Saint Evasio. The great chapel of Saint Evasio, bishop and martyr. Above the floor of the nave, it was designed by Benedetto Alfieri, and it was built since the middle of the 18th century all the way until 1808. At the top of the altar there is the shrine of the saint, made with silver, and it contains the body of the bishop. Hanged upon the center altar, there is the most important artwork of the cathedral, the medieval wood covered by silver and precious stone. The wooden choir in the apse was made in 18th century. At the left there are 3 chapels where are hung the portraits of Saint Lucia, Saint Agatha and Saint Apollonia, painted by Guglielmo Caccia, best known as the Moncalvo. The cathedral is a museum in the posterior lodges, in which are conserved some precious pieces of art, such as mosaics, gold workings, and textile manufactures that enrich the extraordinary artistic patrimony of the church. Well, this is all. I'm glad to have been your Cicerone, and goodbye.
Via.
Hello. The Municipale Theatre of Casale Monferrato was built by the abbot Agostino Vitoli. At the same place than today, in the early 17th century, there was another theatre called Trincotto, which hosted the premiere of The Rape of Proserpina by Giulio Cesare Monteverdi. In this building, the stands were added in the year 1673. In 1694, the theatre was closed for some difficulties in the management, to be rebuilt entirely in wood in 1703. In 1780, some nobles of Casale commissioned a new bigger theatre to the abbot architect Agostino Vitoli of Spoleto, who completed the theatre in 1786. The building was inaugurated in 1791.
The main hall of the theatre has a horseshoe-shaped, classic example of Italian theatre. The theatre is divided into 4 tiers of boxes, including lobbies with carved and gilded railings. Frescoes of brothers Bernardino and Fabrizio Gagliari adorn the ceiling, the center of which lies a large crystal chandelier with a gold trim. The theatre was closed during the Napoleonic period and was reopened only in 1840, after some renovation works. Artists who worked on the theatre are the painter and sculptor Leone Brizzi for decorations and stuccos of the boxes, the painter Angelo Moia for the fresco of the Muses on the ceiling, and Abbondio San Giorgio, who is the most famous one, for the Cariatidi. In 1840 it was reopened with La Beatrice di Tenda by Vincenzo Bellini. It is important to remember that Beatrice was the wife of a condottiero of Casale called Facino Cane. January the 5th of 1861, the theatre was sold by the Noble Society to the city of Casale Monferrato, becoming more accessible to the citizens. But due to a series of difficulties, the theatre got closed for more than 100 years, becoming also a magazine during the years of the Lost War.
Teatro.
It was inaugurated with the performance of Vittorio Gassman, Brindisi per un Teatro, Sunday the 4th of March 1990. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.
San Domenico.
Hi, I'm Alice and this is the Church of San Domenico. The Church of San Domenico is the seat of Confraternita dei Nobili. It is built in Casale Monferrato and this is the most important church after the Cathedral of Sant'Evasio. Designed by Soardi called the Bramantino, the church was founded by Guglielmo VII of Monferrato in 1472. Sources says that the Marquis placed the first rock to start the building, while the working to build the convent was already begun in 1469. Bonifacio V finished it in 1506 and consecrated it in 1513, and he sent the church into the care of Dominican monks. The church and the convent were together until the end of 1822, and when, after the suppression of Napoleon, a part of convent was separated in 3 batches and sold to privates.
Chiostro.
There are many works of art dating from 15th to the 18th century, such as 15th century painting Madonna of the Child from the Flemish school arrived in Casale thanks to French Princess Anna d'Alençon. The paintings in the presbytery, painted by Pietro Francesco Guala, late 17th and early 18th century, the Battle of Lepanto by Guglielmo Croiso, and other 15th century paintings attribute to Niccolò Musso, Giovanni Battista Caire, and Guglielmo Caccia, also known as Moncalvo, who made the canvas of Coronation of the Virgin. Worthy of note are the holy water and the tomb belonging to the 16th century of Benvenuto San Giorgio, a Gerosolimitano knight and a member of the Senate of Casale, and of other Paleology and Gonzaga princes. Inside the convent stands out the Chapel of the Rosary, rich for stuccos and decoration, and the Renaissance cloister, the bell of the tower, and 15th century hall.
Hi, I'm Marco Boralis and today I'm talking about Palazzo Gozzani Treville, also known as the location of a Philharmonica Accademia. This is one of the most illustrious examples of 18th century aristocratic adab. The building, conceived by the architect Giovanni Battista Scapitta, architect of the famous Caterina Church. It was erected by Giacomo Zanetti and reshaped by Ottavio Brunetti Scamazzi at the end of the century. It mirrors the features of 18th century neoclassical and convex lines in the external room with the built space in the man-nature relationship. The facade is slightly concave in order to indulge the curvilinear trend of the street. We find the elegant atrium with beaded columns and frescoes which give the illusion of reality. The courtyard is abundant of statues, balconies, torrents, backdrops with view of the garden. There is also a sundial. The flight of the wonderful hall takes to the aristocratic floor. On the vault, the fresco that depicts the Allegoria dell'Olimpo, restored by Piero Vignoli on behalf of the Lions Club of Casale, of Piero Francesco Guala. Very welcome is the characteristic trompe d'oil which breaks through the ceiling illusory, where we find Il Giudizio di Paride in the atrium, work of Giovanni Battista Natali, and the frescoes of Francesco Lorenzi in the house towards Mameli Street.
Terza.
Thank you for your attention and goodbye.